Hello everyone, this is the Topology Service Transaction Sync on September 24th. Let's get started. So, share my screen. Uh, let's check in from the priorities from last week. So, um, update certificate setting. This is done, right, Tarun?
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah. The feature flag is also removed. So
yeah. Same with database. I think this is still a work in progress, right, Tarun?
Yeah, I have one of the two needed MRs in and just making final tweaks to it with feedback, and the other one I'm starting hopefully today.
Okay. And Sangu is still we're still working on the protocol, so that's good. Current priorities for each team member this week, hopefully, is for me at least to finish design on the rate limiting and anything else that we need to be able to run the person transactions. I
can
think
we
from
actually,
our go ahead.
yeah, can we talk a bit more about what we are trying to get out of that issue? Because the initial thing that we wanted to validate from the database team is if it's okay to run the database inside the transaction, which if we are going to limit it to 300 claims per second, we can do it right now without increasing the connection to size at all or requiring additional approvals.
Yeah.
If you see the last comment by Brava.
Yeah, yeah. But we need to have a way to limit that, right? So we need to figure out how to rate limit the 200 claims per second.
Yeah, but that is not part of the decision here. I think like because that would require a design change as well as like how would that look like in the implementation. It should be put in separately.
I think it is related because it depends how the rate, like, depends how rate limiting is going to be implemented because there are multiple ways how to implement it. Like cloud armor is not going to be an option for us,
Yeah,
unfortunately, after doing some research. So we need to make sure that we have the right, like we actually meet what we told the database team that we are rate limiting 200 RPS. So I think it's
300.
included here, 300 or 500, whatever the number
Okay.
we decided on. Um, and we just need to make sure that we have a way to rate limit things and figure out have an idea of how to do it, and then open up updated design document to reflect that.
Okay. Uh, yeah, I don't have
Because
I guess,
because we only got approval if we rate limits by 200, right? Or by 500, sorry.
yeah, looking at the current rate of claims and other optimization that Camille was suggesting, if we were to batch the claims, uh, we are not going to be anywhere near 300 right now, which is where
Yes, but traffic
uh,
pattern can change at
yeah,
production.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Which is why I think like it's an implementation that we need to do and figure out how to do. We know what we have to do, which is where it's not a discussion anymore, but rather an implementation or design that we have to do rather than a discussion. At least that's my opinion of it. But if you feel strongly that we should do it as part of this issue, please can you also
Uh,
update that?
yeah, I think I feel strongly here that it needs to be as a single thing.
Okay.
Like we need to figure out rate limits, so because that affects um, if we're okay with running it in database transactions or not.
Okay.
Just
Can
to have a
we update
cascading.
that?
Yes, I will,
Okay.
and I'll assign it to me as well if you're okay with that.
Okay.
Um,
So the ADR that you were talking about in this issue is this rate limiting and the
rate,
claim rate that we have.
yeah, and documenting everything that we discussed on the issue to make sure that we get all the that it's documented how we're going to do it, basically.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I, yeah. First, just I guess one more thing that I want to confirm is, are we okay with 300 claim rate per second?
No, I think from the request rates we have right now, that's a good enough amount.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mm, okay. Sangu and Tamil, I'm guessing you two will be working on the new RPC definitions. Is something else on your plate? Or not?
What's this new RPC definition? I haven't been paying much attention to this one. Is there
The
an,
the image request that you have been working on, defining the new RPCs.
oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
That's just updating the protocols, right?
Yep.
Not
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I actually have a like. Can we come to a conclusion of what actually needs to happen in that MR? Because I see there's a bit of back and forth about if we want to retain the stores or if we just get rid
We
of
can
it as part
delete
of
them.
the.
We can get
Okay.
rid of them. I'm happy
Okay.
with that. I'm not opposed to that.
So remove the entire thing. We don't need to fix it with the new things because we are going to be adding the new thing anyway.
Yes, my opinion is like just keep removing stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly.
No, I'm happy with that. Yeah. I think that makes sense. Because-
The only thing that I probably care is like null star, that it keeps working somehow a little bit, but I think that's as much I care, pretty much.
Okay. So Sangu, to make sure, I'm not sure if you had the time to read the discussion on this one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we need to, I think we need to remove the placeholder this one. So we need to remove the prefix or suffix. And I think we also need to go with common suggestion here to just delete the DB support for spanner and Postgres and start from scratch basically.
Okay.
It would
Yeah,
be,
it's
I
my
guess, similar.
second time doing from scratch. Yeah. But so to just to make sure that I understand, we don't want the new messages. We only want the RPCs. And
The RPCs include the messages.
okay.
We don't want the prefix, the PF that you added in the image.
So,
So
just to, I guess, I can.
Sangu, like
Sorry.
the reason for pushing proto is like then Ruby side can update gem once and like keep building against it without changing them later. That's really like a reason for pushing proto quickly.
okay. I guess the downside of that is like there's a bit of confusion with the old messages. It's kind of I guess kind of
We can,
yeah.
Just
if
remove
it's,
them.
yeah, we can remove them. If we're gonna remove the store, we can remove that.
Oh, remove all the old ones.
Yeah.
So
Now that we're gonna remove the store, we don't have to keep the store up to date. So we're gonna delete this one.
so we do what I first did, but in addition to that, I just removed all the stores except the
Yeah.
null one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like Sangu, like the expectation is like your MR is removing more stuff than adding.
Well, technically, it's gonna end up adding more, right? Because it has more RPCs and messages. Okay.
All right.
Kamal, do you think we should still keep the database connection setup and things like that, or would you want to remove that as well?
Can you ask again?
Yeah, so inside of the store, so let's say store spanner, right? Here we have like all the new stuff, like for example, setting up a connection and things like that. Do you think we should at least still keep that? So this will help Aaron test the spanner configuration changes in staging and production that the Topology service can connect to spanner.
Let me think about that. I'm gonna get back to it. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Because the reason for like that is like how you want to test it. Should it be part of the health check? Should it be part of the application startup?
I think right now it's part of the application startup, depending on the data store configuration. So
So maybe other way around, like if I start working on the adding new database interface, it could really hook into these two places doing nothing. So let me think what would be like faster thing to do. Okay.
Okay.
If you can let me know your thoughts when you have them, that'd be great.
Cool.
Yeah. So should we move on to Aaron's current priority? Alrighty. So yeah, setting up the database connection and having the pipeline to run operations. And I guess I have a comment on this, Aaron. I saw like Turun messaging or commenting around that we should wait on some stuff. I feel like we shouldn't, because setting up the pipeline and setting up the permissions and things like that should be unrelated to anything else we're doing. So if we delete the migrations that we have, so right now in topology service, right, if we go here and DB migrations claims, we have a single migration, right? Both for Postgres and Spanner. We can technically just delete this migration and have the pipeline that you're working on creating to just run migrate up all the time, and it will not run any migration because there's none. It will only set up the Goose table because Goose will set up a specific table to track the migration. So at least with us, that you hooked up everything correctly.
Yeah, I haven't actually read through the code of it, the app itself yet. So does it do Goose up or Goose migrate up as part of its entry point?
Yeah. So if we do go run CMD, you won't do go run in the pipeline, but it is Goose migrate. You have a command called up, and then you pass in the data source and driver name. So driver name would be spanner. Basically, let's see. We have an example here. Driver this one. So basically, our pipeline needs to run this, right? Driver name spanner and then data source, whatever, right? And this will end up creating a specific table inside of Spanner called Goose migrations or something like that. That will track which migrations run and which ones didn't. So that table will that will help you make sure that you configure the pipeline correctly, that you can run migrations.
Steve, folks, how about we just add migration that is just doing a query, not adding any data, but we are not starting with 0. So I don't know, this migration could simply do select one, nothing else.
Yeah, we could do that. I'm not...
Then we actually have actual migration version. Because one of the probably interesting aspects is how we track migration version as well.
Goose does that for us through the Goose table that it creates.
I'm not sure how it's gonna behave if you remove that file and do not have git keep or something like that. So we can have just one migration that is doing nothing. Really.
Yeah, I think I tested it earlier. You can have git keep, yes, and that should be fine. So it looks at a specific prefix. So let's test it out quickly. So DB migrations. Let's do spanner, delete that, git keep. Right, so if we go
Yes,
here.
this is the common hack to make Git to have
Yeah.
some folder.
Yeah, so env spanner, right? Or do I have Docker?
Did you remove the migration?
Yes, I did. Let me start Docker.
Steve, you should be using new container. Come on.
Yeah, so if we do But then I have to reconfigure the script to use container rather than Docker command or alias it or whatever, right? So
No, but like you do not reconfigure. Like we modify our scripts to start using container on macOS.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna be magic.
No migrations part. So yes, we have to add.
Yes, we need to have like some file basically.
Yeah, so
That is
we can
doing nothing.
create. Yeah, test.
You don't have to do anything, I believe.
Yeah, I
Try to run.
think. Yeah, let me try and run it. Yeah.
Okay. There has to be some query.
Yeah,
Wrong query.
select.
Select one.
Yeah.
Spanner doesn't take semicolon, so remove semicolon.
Leave, just make select one without semicolon.
Yeah.
And I think also remove single quotes, probably.
Okay.
There could be also like a need for the trick with the where. Yes, okay. Whatever. We can figure out that later.
Yeah, but basically, Aaron, you'll have to open up a merge request to delete the existing migration and create some kind of migration that doesn't modify the scheme at all. So then you can test out the full end-to-end pipeline.
I guess my question was like operationalizing it to automate it. So in the issue, it talks about creating a runway job. Is that for sure what we want? We don't want it coming out of like a CI pipeline. We don't want.
Uh, Up to you to decide. Runway job is one idea because runway like that was what it was built for, to trigger migrations and commands. So that seems to be what runways supports and suggests to use for migrations. But I'm not opposed to anything else.
Yeah, the primary reason for also the permission set, since the runway job is already can be configured in the same way to
Yeah.
access them.
Yeah, I consider the permissions. And like maybe I'll connect with Camille offline, make this a more lengthy, a better conversation if I need to. But because the Goose stuff I thought was embedded inside the app itself, we can trigger. Yeah, so we can, if we do a runway job to run the migrate command as part of that job for the container, is that going to have an impact? Obviously, it'll hit the database, but for the service, for the actual service that gets deployed, is that going to in some way impede that? Because the existing services aren't going to be rolled back. They're still going to be there until the deployment continues to roll forward and roll out the new ones. And so I was wondering, the old ones, the old versions will still be around for a window of time until our pipeline or until Runway's pipeline triggers the actual deployment of the services, and we want that to come sequentially after, right?
No,
yeah.
that's
So my
fine.
question.
We want.
I have a specific question. Do we want to just, and like, tell me if I'm wrong, but do we want to just have migrate or Goose up or whatever the equivalent is happen on every container start? Period?
No, not on container start. This is why it's a runway job, not part
well, that's what I'm trying to catch up on context from what I missed while I was out.
Yeah. So we don't want it to start on every container because Cloud Run spins up containers all the time, right? So this is why it needs to be part of the deployment pipeline, where it will run Goose up part of the deployment pipeline. And this is where we discussed that database migration will only happen in isolation. So you open up a merge request with only just a database migration, and we you roll it out, and then you write the code that will depend on that database migration, similar to how we do on RAIDs.
Okay. Yeah, that was my primary question, was whether we wanted this to be just on container start. I wasn't sure where I saw that it was embedded.
I'm not sure if this was like your question fully, but the process gonna have to look like that. That application will not start if the database is not migrated. That particular version of the application, we're gonna have to add a way to check that database is on the correct migration. So
what about
which
the
means,
existing services then?
sorry?
That'll be because the runway services that exist that are running TS are still going to be there.
Yes,
while
like
the migration
but like the new service will not start until you run migration. It's kind of like a moving forward approach, similar to how we do it with Rails. Like application will not start until migrations are run.
Yeah. And the way we can implement that. So to answer your follow-up question, Aaron, like old services, if let's say we run a migration and their old service is still running on container start, they will not have the new migration at hand, so they can't they don't know there's a new migration, so it will start automatically. But the new versions will have the migration at hand, so they can check if that migration was run or not. And like we can easily do that on boot with the version check.
Which would be exactly the reason for connecting and checking connectivity to the database, because this would be like a precondition start.
Yeah.
And so basically there would be like two parts of the process. As part of the application startup, we would check database state, that this is at least what we see in a project. And second, as part of the health check, we would do a ping context on the database connection as well, probably.
By health check, do you mean the actual health checks that run continuously or something else?
There is this discussion between liveness and readiness flow that I am missing, but whatever. But I think there has to be some way to have like some way to check that databases keep functioning fine.
Why do we need to add functionality in the code to see if the database was migrated? Because can't we just add like in the deployment pipeline that the migration always runs, and then we deploy the new application just with the CI features? The application anyway would have to work with the previous version and the new version of the database. Because when the database is running, the older application is already connected to the same database. So we anyway needs to have compatible database migrations compatible with
I think it's more
at least two.
it's more of a depends on that situation. So imagine a scenario where the migration job passes, but doesn't actually create the new column, right? And we deploy a new version that writes to that column. We should try and fail early instead of failing when we're trying to insert in that column. It fails on startup, checking if that column exists. And the way that works is checking if the migration ran or not. Rails does this, right? So if you try inside of GDK, if you try skipping some migrations, Rails will fail to boot, saying I can't because I'm expecting this specific schema in the database and right. So it's more like, since they are too disjointed, they can be disjointed at any time, right? Like when we run the migrations and when we start the application, right? Those are two disjointed things that happen. Like we do it sequentially, but we can do that. Right?
It's really part of the application readiness. Application should never be added to the load balancer if it's almost guaranteed to fail, because then we're gonna only see errors, and it makes no sense to run application if we're gonna see errors.
Yeah. Okay. I guess it comes to the point where you initially suggested of adding a environment variable to the application with the database version, if you remember, like a couple of months back. which says like this is the version the application is compatible with, or this is the version the database should be migrated with.
No, the application knows itself because it has migrations on hand in a container that should have been run.
Yeah, so if you look here, we can do go
So like there is no need to adding any new variables. It's really part of the boot up readiness process.
Yeah, we can use the same code that it's doing on status and see if there's any migrations. If there is, we start the application.
Yeah, okay, it's comparing the version that is running and what
Exactly.
we got. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it connects to the Goose to the spanner database, reads the Goose table, and see. I have 10 migrations, but locally I have 11, so nothing matches.
Yeah.
So there's the
Okay.
stuff.
Bailout.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna disappear in a killer.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we have a good understanding of things there. Genshin, do you want to verbalize the stuff that you're working on?
Yeah, sure. So now I'm trying to figure out how we should handle the records being deleted on Cascade so that since it's deleted on Cascade from database perspective, Ruby doesn't know that the records got deleted. And Boyan created a new a merge request to use database trigger to save those data in another table. So we have the records that those records got deleted, and we can query those table to then unclaim those things. And I'm still thinking through that if this is the approach that we want to do, and continue on the planning on within the transaction, because Toll also said that we probably shouldn't rely on before commit because it's not a public method somehow, even though it's been there for a long time. Actually, a lot of database active record libraries are depending on that. So I'm not very sure about the status and need to figure out if that's something we can rely on.
Yeah, I would like to actually follow up on this Genshin since I was working on that. The main reason for me that I'm not sure if we want to go to the verification layer is that we are going to run it like a couple of times per day or several times per day. So like I think that's a like too big time frame to like leave those records unclaimed. If that makes sense.
How big of a time frame is it?
I mean, like, based on the design, we said it's going to be run several times per day. So it's let's say then I don't know 10 times is going to be like 70 plus minutes, which means that if you accidentally created something or want to delete it, that's going to be like
and it's not leaving it 70 minutes unclaimed, it's leaving it 70 minutes claimed, right? Because we don't delete.
yeah,
we don't need
it's going to be unclaimed for. So let's say
it's going to be claimed by cell one, but cell one doesn't have the data anymore, right? So it's going to be claimed by no one until we selfie.
I mean, we can actually make it be recurred more often. That could be one solution if you want to go with the verification handler, or continue doing with these like triggers that's gonna populate it in the worker.
I think I would prefer that we don't rely so much on the background or reconcile process because like I think it should be left as a last resort for things that we have maybe like bugs or actual race conditions that is difficult to handle. And for regular process, I would prefer we avoid going through that because that can reduce the load out there and it will make the responsibility more separate and more isolated. And for if we need to debug and to see the logs and queries and the remaining data, so on and so forth, it will be just more clear if we separate them.
Do you know how loose foreign keys works?
Sorry,
Do you know how loose foreign keys works and how it's being handled?
foreign key?
Loose foreign keys. Loose
Oh.
foreign keys, LFK. Do you know how it works, how it behaves, how it's implemented?
I guess not.
Because I think the problem is exactly the same as for the loose foreign keys. So I see two paths, either attach to loose foreign keys or replicate what loose foreign keys is doing.
Sorry, how's this relevant to deleting records on Cascade?
Loose foreign keys is not doing database foreign keys. Instead of it's enqueuing to records to be deleted asynchronously, and it's then being processed by Rails. And once the record is deleted, it kind of triggers push like information in the database that this record was deleted, so you have to process all of the cascade deletes.
But
Okay.
Camille, something I actually implemented, if I believe. So like we have that in CI pipelines, right?
It's now used widely. It was not implemented by me. It was implemented by Adam, but we were doing that for the decomposition. But it's exactly the same problem that you are facing with. That we have some amount of the data that are deleted, cascade or like asynchronously, and like how you can know that this data was deleted. And I think those foreign keys is like your answer. And then it becomes handy because you are not processing data on a claims, you are processing data on a tables deleted. And this is where we could use actually the source table and source record that we added to the proto, because we could actually delete based on that. All of
Okay, so you're saying that we want to treat this as a loose foreign key.
like for the cases where you identify that there is this type of the deletion, I really think that's like a loose foreign keys problem. So either it's the same pattern or we kind of reuse that pattern completely. Because this is the same problem. The problem is like you need to use attach database trigger to have like a information stored in a database of something that was deleted. That information you process then asynchronously in arrays to perform another layer of the processing of that information. In this case, it's like removing all of other data that was dependent on that. But in our case, it would be send a request to the topology service to clean up all the records belonging for this table and this list of the IDs pretty much. So it seems loose foreign keys problem to me.
I was inspired by that when I created that merge request actually. So it was also deleted records, had a trigger to populate them, and there was a worker running every 2 minutes, going to that records and releasing them. So that was like the idea behind it.
I don't know about the frequency, but it's pretty often.
Yeah. So this was like the same idea.
Because it's the same process. Like you have to, you know exactly what was deleted. You now have to process that. So this would be like our normal working condition of deletion. Take a look at the loose foreign keys is implemented, because maybe the easiest could be really like hook into loose foreign keys as a solution there. Which means like we would need like another RPC that is tailored to support how loose foreign keys works, but it's fine. It's gonna be more efficient than what we would be doing otherwise, regardless.
Okay. The other approach I was thinking is that since we know we are going to delete them, we can also just query and then get the data from there if it's not a lot of them. For example, like a user shouldn't have a ton of GPG keys.
I don't know.
Okay.
I like when I think about the problem, I think those foreign keys problem basically, but
Okay.
and the data serialization will gonna be always significantly harder thing to reconstruct.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking that it could be like I'm not sure yet, but if there's not a lot of data, I think it's totally fine to do it from Ruby directly when we are deleting it because we know they are going to be deleted anyway. But I can see that maybe there's a different case. For example, when we delete the project, then there's a ton of things depending on the project. So maybe it wouldn't work for project. For user, it's probably fine.
I think like one thing you have to think about is like ergonomics of using that. Change that doesn't imply writing a lot of stuff custom to make it happen. I think this is what we are looking for. So I think the main reason for choosing solution is like what is like the most automatic way to support that thing.
Cool. Anything else?
Just look at the loose foreign keys, how it's
Yep.
behaving. Because I think this answers that problem.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty.
Tarun?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tarun.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to be working on the DB schema design. Yeah, this is something that I talked with Steve earlier today on what exactly that we should be doing here. And I guess the primary thing that we want to check is the indexes, if we should create them or not, because for other things, it's the schema that Camille had in the POC works, but just for the list claims specifically, because we will be requesting a lot of things from the topology service and the list claims are RPC. So we want to see how we can optimize it further. So I've written all the things in the summary, but basically we want to see if we want to how impactful it would be to go over the splits, which is different instances of databases, versus picking them up from a single instance, split instance. And if we do end up with a single split instance because of our skew in data, like legacy cell is going to have a lot more data than the other, we might end up creating hotspots, which would be really bad for our database performance itself. So I'm just going to create a test tomorrow between these two things and see which one is better and then stick to it. The other idea that Steve also suggested in a comment below is if we should consider push-based model instead of a pull-based model. But that is something I think we would be looking at once we actually start working for the background data verification process, and if we should switch to the pull-based model instead, push-based model instead. When I say push-based here, I mean to say instead of topology, instead of the Rails saying give me all the claims for me, Rails sends all of the claims information to the topology service and asks it to verify it.
The DB schema stuff, I think it's interesting. And I think one thing that probably we could also look at is like the composition. And maybe figure out, maybe we just need more tables. That would, where each table would be indexed slightly differently depending on how we used it. Now, like what the schema, what I proposed in the POC is like, was the simplest thing to do. But I acknowledge that this is probably not the perfect thing to do, but you know what the problem we are facing. So we can be kind of innovative there, like how is the best to compose these tables to provide the capability that we need now, understanding planner behavior. So
yeah,
I think I would not limit ourselves to that model. It's just like this is one of the ways. So that's my thinking behind it.
Okay.
So, Torrent, just figure out what is the best way to store this information, basically, and tell me.
Easy peasy.
And then I'm gonna tell you if I like it or not.
Okay. Yeah. So that's what I'll be working on tomorrow.
Boyan, is there anything else to add? Because I think it's very similar to what you're working with Genshin, right?
Jump with Genshin, yeah, for sure. And yeah, thank you, Camille. I believe like we are kind of on the same track for the loose foreign keys.
Sweet.
I have to jump out, guys. Sorry, I'm late for another call.
Okay.
Please jump.
I think the comments comment, everyone seems to agree with it, so I'd rather just set it up for a daily stand-up around this time.
I'm not sure that everyone agrees. I just was
I'm
asking like
assuming.
people.
I'm assuming no news is good news coming from me, so
So, I'm kind of thinking that like if you would have like a very tight loop stand-up way every day, like it should be very fast. Like it would allow like people to much better figure out
Yep.
whether they are blocked or unblocked, like and improve the prompt around
Yeah.
time about changes. So that's really like the idea behind it.
yeah, and we can always like if there's two people that need to have a bigger discussion, they shouldn't have it in stand-up. They should have a follow-up
Yeah.
meeting afterwards, so we don't waste 8 people's time.
So just by curiosity, for how long are we going to do those daily stand-ups?
However, how long we need them to.
Alright, so
So
I'll be on PTO for like 2 weeks. After that, I'll be working from Korea. So like, I'm kind of worried that I have to do that stand-up like at 10 p.m. every day.
yeah, that's fine.
But
Okay,
yeah,
we
I'll
can
try
Possibly
to.
a
Yeah.
bit early.
Mhm. Okay.
we can find another time then because I think it's just late because you're in Canada right now, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
West Coast. So
This
if
late.
you're in Korea, we can move closer to the East Coast. So even if it
But
would be a bit
Aaron
later,
is in my time zone too, though. That's
right?
No,
No.
I'm an hour behind. I'm an hour ahead of you. I'm more east.
Okay,
Just for
okay.
clear, you also start at 7:30 your time.
No, my post parental leave, my days are starting later now.
We'll
Okay.
figure out time zones. We've been doing
We
this
should
for
we should also like I know it's a stand up and like I love daily stand up, so don't get me wrong. But we should try to figure out, especially for time zone wonkiness, some way to try to do it async. Maybe have like a dedicated channel in Slack in case somebody can't make a meeting or put it in the note, like some kind of a protocol or whatever to keep it async.
we'll have this agenda going forward, so we can
I
continue with
would
this.
I would really propose that we use like this Google Doc on the async if you cannot join. If the time zone becomes a different like a problem, we would basically alternate every other day, so people can join in their favorable time. But I think like we would solve that when the problem arises, not before hypothetical
Yeah,
problem.
this,
So
Yeah, I'll take care of the
and second,
logistics.
like if you cannot join like for 2 or 3 days because of other stuff, it's completely fine, right?
Awesome. Point B is around PTOs. This is mostly for me to keep things in mind. I know Sengu just mentioned he has 2 weeks off. So, and again, this is not to make you feel bad that you're taking PTO or anything like that. It's just to plan ahead. So, like for example, Sengu is going away, so Kamal will pick up from Sengu, so on and so forth. Cool. Turun, you have the next item.
Yeah, this was just last item. I'm not sure if Camille, you would like to expand on the point that you made earlier about the batch processes. Just talking more about having user ID as part of the batch process itself and sending it while trying to tease out the clip. To, I guess, reiterate on top of it, I just explained the problem one more time. Let's say when you're creating a user, you would be creating a user record, an email record, and a route record for that user personal namespace. To me, it's suggesting that we should be batching those requests, but that creates a chicken and egg problem in a way, because for email and route, the owner ID is actually user.id, and we don't get the user.id until we insert the user in the users table. So that's where, and the reason why we don't want to do that for everything is because we have side effects. For instance, as soon as we insert the user, if I recall correctly, we also send him a welcome email, or I don't know if it happens after the email is inserted, but the hooks are not configured after commit, but after insert on insert, we can definitely update them. So it happens, or they fire after the commit. But yeah, Kamid mentioned as interesting point that we can have it in a two-way, and instead of sending it in begin update, we can do it in commit update.
I lost you a little bit, but first of all, like that's the whole premise that like you send a single request to the topology service for every transaction. Like, sorry, 2 requests, begin and commit, nothing more. So because like if these are like a 3 inserts, if we split those 3 inserts into 3 requests, you actually end up with 6 requests to the topology service. Now, if you are doing that from the Europe, you are paying 100 millisecond latency roughly each time. So, and there are gonna be cases that we're gonna be pushing maybe even more data. So the batching is essential for the efficiency of the global sync, pretty much. Now there is a problem of the chicken and egg problem, which is like by the current RPC, it kind of forces us to send it in a transaction, because you cannot send a pre-flight request that would like create entries, and then you have like another RPC that would probably update that as part of the commit. But nothing prevents us from adding this capability. So having like a begin update to be able to be executed without IDs, and have like an extension to commit update to attach those IDs for the records that would be updated. So kind of like extending semantics of the commit update to be able to update those created records exactly with whatever information you need that you didn't know ahead of the time. So, but it still doesn't change the fact that like you have to just do 2 requests, never more.
Okay.
So
okay. The other reason I was also asking is because that also updates our DB design, because like in the begin update now those values can be null, and we will need to update them as part of commit update. And I'm not sure if you would also have to update our protos to say that commit update will be using these new fields that needs to be updated as part of the commit update. Yeah, that might change the proto contracts that Sangu is working on. I need to check if we are already sending all the details.
We have all the stuff on the begin update. We don't have on the commit update because this is not something that is documented at all.
Yeah.
But I think it's also good to have that on back of our head as a potential optimization for the process. The problem with pushing that into commit update is you need to store this information somewhere to know exactly what to send. So I guess leases outstanding, or like the leases table in arrays would have to receive like a JSON-B column with exactly what should be sent on the commit update, if you capture that. So I think my thinking now, like we have like the easy path, and we have very efficient path as an extension of that design that we can add at any time when we learn that. The thing is like that with optimized path, efficient path, it's actually gonna take quite a amount of effort to make it done right. that's my, I think, time constraint problem at the moment that I'm seeing. So I'm happy to document an optimized path as well as an extension to capture that in a blueprint. So we could have that as like an artifact of like potential optimization, because I think like we kind of now have to do it in a transaction because there is no other way. But this would kind of would extend the design to have like a answer what happens if we notice that within transaction is actually highly problematic and we have to optimize some specific very frequent flows to not use within transaction but use outside of the transaction process. So this would be, I think, the thing on my part to capture better.
If we do end up moving it outside of transaction, then yeah, we would have to send those details as part of the commit update.
Exactly. So you need to also like capture that somehow, push in arrays table as part of the transaction, and then like do this commit update later. So it's really like an extension to the current process.
Yeah.
You just extend commit update semantics and like you add this additional capture thing within arrays.
Okay. But even in the happy path, there is one field that we would need to send in commit update, which is the source record ID.
No.
How do you send the source record ID in begin update then?
Like if you do begin update in a transaction, you're actually sending this begin update not at the insert. You are sending that begin update before a commit.
Not
So
before the insert.
Yes, please. Can you say something? Who is next?
Yeah, I was gonna say, so the way it works, Ron, like we will pick the hook we're gonna use in active record would be before commit. So it runs the insert in the database already. So we already have an ID and already inserted inside of the database. We just have a transaction open and haven't committed the transaction.
But that's the one of the things that Boyan discovered earlier in this issue. If you read the old description, which was the side effects that it causes.
But
the Rails.
But the side effects only happen after the transaction is committed, right?
No, on the inserts.
And is that by a trigger or what is that?
Yeah, it was by triggers.
Okay.
Can you link me to the side effect? I'm not aware of that because honestly, conceptually, there should be not trouble with
Okay.
it.
Okay.
So maybe I'm missing like exactly information where you are hooking and how you are hooking, because conceptually you have to send begin update before a commit after you perform all inserts, and each of those inserts have returning ID, which then is attached to an object that you are inserting into DB. So it's really like it's really about the ordering of the operations. If you hook in the right place, you guaranteed to have this information pretty much. I don't know how easy it is to get this information, but this is another thing. But you are guaranteed to have this information, and this would apply to every type of the internal ID, whatever it would be. But this is my theoretical thinking. I did not say that practically, so.
Yeah, if you can hunt down that specific trigger to run, because I'm assuming sending emails, it's a sidekick worker. It's not a database trigger. I'll be really surprised and plain a bit horrified that would be true database trigger, but who knows?
Yeah, the examples that I saw in the other discussions were sending email, creating a webhook, and clearing out the cache. But I will find the code where that's getting.
Yeah, I think that as far as I know, those are done through Sidekick, so trigger Sidekick jobs. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else we want to discuss in this meeting?
Just one last final thing. I mean, in the unoptimized path, the happy path, where we are not sending all the batches together, should we, even in the initial attempt, should we try to batch on the hierarchy level? For instance, for creating a user, we can send, instead of 3 different requests for user, email, and route, we can batch email and route together, because once user is created, we have the owner ID for both those records. So we can send a batch for them.
You're asking about what are the requirements for happy path, or like what is the intended way?
What is the intended way for the happy path right now? Not the highly optimized way, but right now, what are we going to do?
I don't know. Whatever is feasible, we would have to evaluate how it behaves by understanding its behavior
Okay.
in different circumstances.
Okay.
So I think the fact that it would be running on the another cell initially on staging give us some leverage, honestly. But we would have to be like figure out a way to capture metrics and understand the true behavior before we enable that on the production, and which would mean that we would probably have to be much more efficient in some cases. So that's my thinking at the moment. I think like happy path means like it actually works. at last, basically.
Cool.
Okay, that makes sense.
Anything else?
Yeah, we don't have to address it right now, but I tag you and Camille just on that MR just to be sure that I got all the requirements right. But yeah, so I'll delete all the old messages. I'll remove the placeholder flags. I'll delete the create RPC and the create service. I'll update the get RPC, the get service, and the no stores get method to use the new message. I delete the spanner and Postgres package under the client source packages, and I remove the Postgres and spanner jobs from CI. Right, that's it. Just to be sure, right?
Yeah.
Because we've been doing this for.
I'm missing some knife to get like to better visualize what you were expecting.
I think the only part that we're not sure about Sangu is to delete the spanner and Postgres package. Like right now, that package sets up the database connection, so we might
Exactly.
still want to
So
go ahead.
yes, I agree. Like I think like probably like delete minimum amount of the things to make your proto to be
Yeah.
managed.
So I think I think I have a decent idea of what we need to do there, Sangu, and maybe Kamal can do a live review of me. But if we go to spanner.go, what we need to do is just first we update the interface on store and just have we remove these and have close and connection right, even though
Okay,
they're
okay.
not perfect. And then we update here. So for example, create and get removed, and we just have close and new, and this
Okay.
will set up, this will still test the connection and close the connection during the application, but it will not touch any RPC or protocols here. So we'll add that later on.
Okay. So we just remove the RPC methods, but we keep the close and the open. Okay.
Yeah, just one like this. We can modify the RPC as much as we want right now, and while also still making sure that we can connect to a spanner database and things like that.
Okay. All right. That's good.
Yeah, so like the thing is like that we're not gonna lose this information in the Git history, so we're gonna
No.
bring some things back, right?
Yeah.
So I think having like a flexibility on mutating proto without having to rewrite fix half of the tests, I think it's more important at the moment.
So what you understood, Sengu, is perfect apart from the last one. So I'm just gonna go and edit it here.
Yeah, I did it. Yeah, I just edited it.
Where is it? Where is it? So this one will still be there.
I don't really understand create RPC and create service. Okay, create RPC, I guess this is the method. Create service, what
Yeah.
it means.
Well,
Updated service, I think.
yeah.
Update service, like the existing service to implement the new RPC, like to
No,
implement
the service should stay. Like it should have like a placeholder
not implement.
method.
Yeah, not implemented.
We've just not implemented, but service should be up.
Yeah, returning. Just like I showed you yesterday, so basically, if you remember.
That's I think the tricky part about the null store, but I guess we would see like how much.
Right. That's it. Just like
I think it's a fair like. Let me just remove from the null store those methods as well.
Yeah, we just update the store interface basically.
And then we just left with the blank service that is running and our like proto that is compiled here and there.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. See you tomorrow, folks.